Have you ever looked in the mirror after getting a bob haircut and thought, why do I suddenly look older instead of fresher? Stay with me, because the answer might surprise you. Here's the truth almost nobody is talking about. It's not that bob haircuts are bad after 50. In fact, they can be one of the most flattering, sophisticated hairstyles you can wear. The problem is that not every bob is created equal. Some styles beautifully frame the face, add movement, and make fine hair appear fuller. Others do the exact opposite, drawing attention to sagging features, making hair look thinner, and adding years to your appearance without you even realizing it. Today, we're exposing the worst bob haircuts to avoid in 2026 and, more importantly, explaining why they no longer work for many women over 50. You'll also discover the modern alternatives that stylists are recommending to create a softer, fresher, and more elegant look. Before we begin, if you enjoy timeless fashion, flattering hairstyles, and beauty tips designed especially for women over 50 and 60, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our weekly style guides. Now, one of the bob haircuts on today's list is still recommended in salons every single day. It's incredibly popular. Many women request it with complete confidence, and yet it's often the very style that ages the face the most. Most people don't realize why until they see it explained side by side. Make sure you stay until the end, because once you discover which bob it is, you may never ask for it again. Bob 1. The heavy helmet bob. This is perhaps the most recognizable bob among women over 50, and unfortunately, it's also one of the most aging. With its overly rounded shape, heavy volume at the sides, and hair tucked neatly under, the helmet bob can make the face appear wider while hiding the natural softness that creates a youthful look. The challenge isn't that it's neat or polished. The problem is that it barely moves. Hair that stays perfectly in place often looks dated, especially today, when softer, more natural styles have become the hallmark of elegance. A bob should frame your face, not surround it like a helmet. Many women continue wearing this style simply because it's familiar. They've had it for years, they know how to style it, and it feels comfortable. But sometimes the smallest change, a little texture, lighter shaping, or less bulk, can make a dramatic difference. Looking elegant after 50 isn't about changing who you are. It's about allowing your hairstyle to evolve with you. Bob 2. The outdated rounded bob. The rounded bob has been a salon favorite for decades, and it's easy to understand why. It's tidy, classic, and easy to maintain. But when the shape becomes too rounded and too compact, it can unintentionally make the entire hairstyle feel dated. Today's most flattering bobs still look polished, but they also have softness and movement. They don't appear stiff or overly sculpted. Instead, they create a lighter frame around the face that complements mature features rather than overwhelming them. One of the biggest misconceptions is that mature women should always choose safe hairstyles. In reality, timeless style isn't about playing it safe. It's about choosing cuts that feel current without chasing trends. Small updates often create the biggest improvements, allowing you to keep the elegance you love while looking refreshed instead of outdated. Bob 3. The one-length bob. A one-length bob may seem like the easiest option, but it isn't always the most flattering after 50. Without subtle shaping or texture, it can become heavy, making fine hair appear flatter and drawing attention to the lower half of the face. Hair naturally changes over time. It may lose density, become finer, or behave differently than it once did. That's why hairstyles that worked beautifully years ago may no longer create the same effect today. Rather than trying to force hair into a perfectly solid shape, many modern bobs focus on creating the illusion of fullness through gentle movement. The result is often a hairstyle that feels lighter, looks healthier, and requires surprisingly little effort to maintain. Sometimes less weight creates far more impact than more hair ever could. Bob 4. The overly stacked bob. Stacked bobs were once considered the secret to instant volume. While they can still suit some women, an exaggerated stacked shape with a dramatic back and sharp angles can easily make a hairstyle look like it belongs to another decade. The goal today isn't obvious volume, it's believable volume. Hair that looks naturally full almost always appears more luxurious than hair that's been heavily shaped to create height. One of the wonderful things about personal style is that confidence grows with experience. You no longer need to follow every trend or copy someone else's haircut. The most elegant women understand what suits their own features and choose styles that enhance them naturally. That's what creates timeless beauty. Bob 5. The ultra-blunt chin-length bob. A perfectly blunt chin-length bob has become increasingly fashionable, but it isn't automatically flattering for every woman over 50. Because of its sharp outline, it can emphasize the jawline, highlight facial changes, and make fine hair appear flatter than it really is. That's why the most successful modern versions often soften the edges instead of keeping every line perfectly rigid. A touch of movement around the face can completely change how the haircut feels, creating a fresher and more relaxed appearance without losing sophistication. The best hairstyle isn't necessarily the newest one or the most expensive one. It's the one that works with your natural features, your hair texture, and your lifestyle. When those elements come together, your hairstyle doesn't compete for attention. It quietly enhances everything about you. As you've seen today, the difference between an aging bob and a flattering one is rarely dramatic. More often, it's the result of thoughtful details that make your hair look softer, lighter, and more natural. Those subtle changes can have a remarkable effect on your overall appearance. If there's one message to take away from today's video, it's this: a bob haircut isn't what makes a woman look older. It's choosing a version of the bob that no longer works with the way her hair and features have naturally evolved. Many women spend years believing they need to completely reinvent themselves to look more youthful. In reality, that's rarely the answer. More often than not, the biggest transformation comes from small, thoughtful updates. A little more movement, a softer outline, less weight where it isn't needed. These subtle refinements can make a familiar hairstyle feel modern again without making you feel like you've become someone else. It's also important to remember that hair changes with time, and that's perfectly normal. Fine hair, changing texture, or a little less volume aren't flaws to hide. They're simply reasons to choose a hairstyle that works with your hair instead of against it. The most flattering hairstyles don't fight nature. They enhance it. Confidence plays a much bigger role than many people realize. When you feel good about your hair, it shows in everything you do. You smile more naturally. You stand a little taller. You stop wondering whether your hairstyle is making you look older and start enjoying the confidence that comes from knowing you look polished and put together. Another mistake many women make is assuming they need to follow every new trend. The truth is, trends come and go. Timeless style lasts. The goal isn't to have the trendiest haircut in the room, it's to have one that flatters your face, suits your personality, and makes you feel like the very best version of yourself. Don't be afraid to have an honest conversation with your hairstylist. Instead of asking for the exact same bob you've worn for years, ask what small changes would better suit your current hair texture and face shape. Sometimes the answer isn't a completely different haircut. It might simply be softer layers, a lighter shape, a different length, or a more modern finish. Those seemingly small adjustments often produce the biggest improvements. And remember, elegance has never been about looking younger than your age. It's about looking healthy, confident, stylish, and comfortable in your own skin. Some of the most beautiful women in the world aren't admired because they look decades younger. They're admired because they wear their age with confidence and choose styles that complement who they are today. Your hairstyle is part of that story. It's one of the first things people notice, but it's also one of the first things you notice about yourself every morning. When your hair feels right, getting dressed becomes easier. You spend less time trying to fix it and more time enjoying your day. That kind of confidence can't be bought. It's built by making choices that truly suit you. If you've been wearing the same bob for 10, 15, or even 20 years, don't think of today's video as a reason to throw everything away. Think of it as an invitation to see your favorite hairstyle through fresh eyes. You may discover that you don't need a dramatic makeover at all. You simply need a more modern version of the bob you've always loved. Fashion continues to evolve, hairstyles continue to evolve, and so do we. That's something to celebrate, not fear. Every stage of life brings new opportunities to refine your style, discover what makes you feel your best, and express yourself with even greater confidence than before. Most importantly, never let anyone convince you that style has an age limit. Looking elegant isn't reserved for women in their 20s or 30s. In many ways, True style becomes even more beautiful with experience because it reflects confidence, wisdom, and self-assurance, qualities that no haircut can replace. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. If you enjoyed this video, we'd love to know which bob haircut surprised you the most or which one you've worn yourself over the years. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience could help another woman who's thinking about updating her hairstyle. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more timeless fashion, flattering hairstyles, beauty tips, and style inspiration created especially for women over 50 and 60. We're so glad you're here, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next video.